When I first started making carnivore diet videos, I would have never thought that we would be sitting right here in 2024 with more people than ever living this way of life. I personally feel like the first step to start any new lifestyle change or diet is going to be the hardest step because you have absolutely no idea what to expect. In today's video, I'll be going into 9 not so fun lessons that you'll learn when starting a carnivore diet. After I cover all 9 lessons, I will be giving you actionable steps to resolve every single one of these painful lessons, so keep watching. Painful lesson number 1. You will feel alone. Starting a carnivore diet can feel like stepping into a whole new world, especially if you don't know anyone else following it. I mean, who is crazy enough to only eat meat? It is so common and perfectly normal to feel isolated, like an alien in your real life as the only carnivore you know, because this diet just isn't mainstream, or just not yet. And information or support can really seem scarce. Conversations about food might get really awkward at the dinner table or at social gatherings, especially when others just don't understand what carnivore diet is. So it is essential to recognize and prepare for the solitude that can accompany this lifestyle shift. If you have any funny or crazy stories about how your family and friends have reacted to you being carnivore, I'd love to hear it down below in the comments. Moving on to lesson number 2. You'll definitely be judged by society. Don't even get me started on this one because I can go for hours about my experience. Choosing to go carnivore will definitely just attract judgment naturally from everybody around you, sometimes even from well-meaning friends and family. Society often has strong opinions about dietary choices, especially those that have not been deemed healthy by authorities. And a lack of understanding can also lead to even more criticism. People might question your decisions, citing concerns about health, or even criticize your character and judgment because you're living life against the grain. Being prepared for these interactions can really help you handle them with grace. The last thing we want as carnivores is to come off like those crazy vegans. Lesson number 3, it is harder to go out with friends and have social outings. I understand that a lot of these gatherings will mostly be comprised of foods that no longer fit into a carnivore diet, like carbs, sweets, desserts, processed foods. This makes it difficult to enjoy these occasions to the fullest, especially if you're going out with your usual group of friends that you've known for years. However, with some planning, it is totally possible to maintain your social life without compromising your dietary goals. We will get to the details again later in the second half of this video when we start covering my best solutions. Lesson number 4. Progress is not overnight. This one is hugely important. It is the most difficult to swallow for those who are viewing carnivore diet as somewhat of a magical bullet to finally get to their fat loss goals or to finally heal their chronic conditions. No matter what you have heard or what you have seen on the internet about carnivore diet results, you need to understand that it takes time, and the timeline for each person will absolutely vary. While some people may experience very quick changes like that whoosh effect, which is basically losing a lot of pounds in just a few days, that usually tends to happen to people who have a lot of water weight to lose and a lot of added inflammation on their body. Most people, however, will need to wait weeks, maybe even months to see visible progress. Lesson number 5, meat aversion can be very challenging. Not everyone experiences this, but honestly, I feel like most people at some point in their journey will. As you settle into the carnivore diet, you may develop this aversion to meat and would do almost anything not to have the same meal of steak and butter every day. That redundancy of meat in your diet can become mentally and physically taxing. Lesson number 6, as your body adapts to carb withdrawal, you might experience symptoms like lower energy, muscle cramping, even headaches. These are part of the adjustment phase as your metabolism shifts from burning carbs to burning fats. A lot of people like to call it that phase where your body becomes fat adapted. The transition, of course, can be very uncomfortable, leaving you feeling drained, unfocused, popularly dubbed in the carnivore community as the keto or carnivore flu. If you can find it in yourself to push through this initial phase with the right resources and help, you will quickly learn that this is just a temporary painful lesson that is honestly very short-lived and passes eventually. Lesson number 7, let's talk about oxalate dumping. Oxalate dumping is obviously not fun. Symptoms of oxalate dumping include aches in joints, in muscles, rashes, worsening of your skin issues before it gets better, and definitely cloudy urine. Sorry if it's TMI, but it's definitely worth observing how your urine looks during the first few weeks and months of carnivore. Because I was vegan for 6 years, vegan diet is a very, very oxalate heavy diet. I had serious symptoms of oxalate dumping. So every morning I would be dumping oxalates. And by the way, oxalates are actual crystals. They're these tiny little crystals that just collect in your body, in your organs, and wreak havoc. So when you stop eating them, then your body wants to get rid of it. And my body wanted to get rid of it through my eyes. Every morning I would wake up and I would not even be able to open my eyes. They were so full of sticky, gunky oxalates just trying to come out of my eyes. If you're wondering how these oxalates got in your body in the first place, I'll just list it for you guys. Sweet potatoes, spices even like black pepper and cinnamon, certain leafy greens like kale and spinach, so high in oxalates, and definitely nuts and grains. So if you've been eating any of these foods shown on the screen right now, then unfortunately expect some type of oxalate dumping symptoms as you adapt to carnivore. Easy tips and tricks to manage these symptoms more effectively will definitely be a game changer for all you newbies. Again, I will be covering those later in this video. Lesson number 8, a change in bowel movement. When starting a carnivore diet, this often leads to noticeable changes in bowel movements, and symptoms during the adjustment period might include periods of constipation, and for others, periods of diarrhea. So this can be super concerning for most, and more than enough to freak out and completely quit the diet. This is just a very common response as your digestive system adapts to eating so much more fat and only protein and fat, no carbs. You are also completely cutting out fiber, which is apparently to every single nutritionist, most doctors, a necessary ingredient for optimal health. I will tell you with my own 6 years of personal experience on this lifestyle that I have had the most pristine digestion, the most perfect stools, the least amount of bloat I've ever experienced in my life by cutting out the fiber. While many rely on fiber for solid stools, fiber is in fact not a vital nutrient because the human body can absolutely function without it by processing foods through alternative digestive mechanisms that rely on adequate levels of water, protein, and fats. And last but not least, lesson number 9. Cravings suck. The withdrawals are going to come hard, and it will be very tough to resist them. Comfort foods from your past eating habits might suddenly seem more tempting, especially on those more stressful days where you're looking for that quick relief. So resisting these types of cravings for sugar, junk, or your favorite late night munchies is going to be a significant challenge for a lot of new carnivores. All right, so now we're at the second half of the video and we have covered all 9 lessons. Let's start with the solution to lesson number 1, which was feeling alone. Just use the many amazing resources available to you right here on the internet. You can consider joining a carnivore community online, or even better, locally and in person if that's possible. All of the amazing meetups that happen in this carnivore community, or conventions and carnivore gatherings. If you don't want to go through the trouble of connecting with other carnivores because maybe you don't know if this lifestyle is right for you just yet, then my second best tip is to watch YouTube videos, basically what you're doing now. You're probably watching this video because you want to learn a little bit more about this lifestyle. You want to hear it from someone who has lived it for a couple of years. Go ahead and continue doing this. Make sure you find multiple carnivore accounts, YouTube channels, Instagram pages that you can look forward to watching, listening to, and learning from. I'll make sure to link some of my favorite carnivore friends and content creators down below in the description box. Now, let's say you are committed enough to want to take that step further and join an online support group. Then I welcome you all to join mine, the Steak and Butter Gang. We're open 24/7, 365 days a year. We have live Zoom calls almost every single day that you can hop onto, ask your questions, share your struggles, updates, victories, and get the connection and accountability that you need. I will tell you that the feeling of getting that connection on a Zoom call versus just typing stuff in a Facebook group feels completely different. It's also a great place to submit your questions to the best carnivore doctors and MDs so that you get the assurance and medically backed answers and support that you need. If you'd like to check out the Steak and Butter Gang community, I'll make sure to link them down below, or you can go to the URL shown on the screen, sbgmeetup.com. Moving on to the solution to lesson number 2, which is being judged by society. This one may be a little bit more difficult to deal with and swallow than lesson number 1, which is just feeling alone. If people are actively judging you, criticizing you, and trying to convince you that what you are doing with your diet is crazy and dangerous, then I really do think reconnecting with why you are giving carnivore diet a try and writing down your whys can be incredibly helpful. Sometimes we get carried away by what other people think of us and all the criticisms that are thrown at us, basically all the noise outside in the real world. And we forget about our purpose. Why are we doing this? Why were we even searching for answers to heal in the first place? There must be a reason why you stumbled across my channel all about a carnivore diet. And if I can take a guess, it's probably because you are sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. You are probably trying to heal chronic health issues that you just have not been having success healing. What I have found with carnivores who tend to stick to this lifestyle longer, they typically have a why that truly makes them cry. It is a desire to heal or get to a certain goal that is so strong that not even people's judgments and noise from the world can sway them from committing to this lifestyle. I will tell you right now that every single day, probably every single hour, because I put myself out on the internet on pretty much all social media platforms, I am getting some form of hate comments, whether it be saying I am a danger to society or I am literally ruining people's health. And yes, I even get doctors and certified nutritionists who try to tear me down. I will tell you right now that those types of things don't faze me at all because of my personal experience with this lifestyle. And I get to wake up every single morning, roll out of bed, and continue to see hundreds of stories day after day of other human beings heal things that they have wanted to heal. There is no stronger why for me now than to continue to spread the word so that other people can heal the way that I did. So I actually want to just take a second here and thank everyone watching this video, especially if you've been a longtime subscriber or even a new subscriber and you've been enjoying my content. You've been liking, commenting, engaging, sharing my content with friends and family. You are the reason why I continue to make carnivore videos. So thank you for your support and thank you for helping me spread this message. Moving on to solution number 3. If you're the only one of your friends that gets it and going out to eat becomes stressful, just bring carnivore-friendly foods with you. Social outings do not have to mean compromising your diet. Prepare by bringing carnivore-friendly foods like a plate of prosciutto and raw cheese to family gatherings at other people's houses. Let's say the gathering is at a restaurant and it can only be at a restaurant. Then what I personally do is I always call ahead. I call the restaurant that the gathering will be at and I ask the right questions. Let's say you spot a steak meal on their menu. This is what I would ask. Hi, I have some personal food intolerances. Do you cook your steak or your meat in seed oils? Is it possible to prepare it plain, without any oils, sauces, just the beef cooked in its own beef fat? Just by saying that you have food intolerances or allergies, the server will take you seriously and adhere to your requirements. What are some really easy to stay carnivore restaurants? My top 4 favorites of all time that I go to time and time again, even voluntarily because they're that good, is Brazilian steakhouses. Every Brazilian steakhouse you visit will most likely be AYCE, all you can eat. So that's perfect. It is literally carnivore heaven because you sit down, you pay one set price, and you get to eat as much meat as you possibly desire. That is heaven to me. Second one is all you can eat Chinese hot pot. If you have never heard of this, you just get a big bowl of delicious broth or even just plain water. That's what I do. And you dip all types of meat, very thinly sliced meats, into the broth. You literally dip it for like 10 seconds and you eat. It's also all you can eat. So you just Yelp or Google hot pot restaurants near me. A similar style is Korean barbecue. A lot of Korean barbecues are also all you can eat, and they just serve you platters of raw meat. You cook it yourself. It's carnivore heaven. And last but not least, I have a whole list of fast food restaurants that are 100% carnivore friendly, seed oil free, and I have double, triple checked for you all. And I'll list that all down below in the description box. Solution to lesson number 4, slow or no progress. Of course, being patient is the solution to this, but obviously it's so much easier said than done. So here's where I do recommend you guys go get a measuring tape or just whip out your iPhones and start taking progress photos. To take it one step further, I actually do recommend that you put away your scales, okay? This includes scales for your food and scales for yourself. These scales are literally soul suckers. Why would you let a number dictate your mood and tell you whether or not you're making progress? That number is just not an accurate and honest reflection of how your body is improving. I also do not recommend counting calories or tracking macros when you first start. There's just no need to complicate things when you are starting such a daunting lifestyle that is probably very different to how you're eating now. If there's anything that you can do, it is to make it as idiot-proof, simple, and enjoyable as possible. This is why I love taking progress pics. Visual aids can be so incredibly motivating and telling. Regularly using measuring tapes if you want, or just taking weekly progress photos in the same outfit, doing the same simple poses, is the most tangible evidence of changes to your body composition, to your skin, to your hair growth, overall health in general, you can see with progress photos. These tools to this day, 6 years in, have served as a wonderful reminder of how far I have personally come, and I frequently whip them out and share it with people who are curious about carnivore in my personal life. And as you can see in my videos, I personally feature it in my videos as well. Now, moving on to lesson number 5, meat aversion. People are often too quick to say meat aversion when really they're just having an aversion to a certain kind of meat that they've been eating over and over and over again. For example, if you're sick of steak, simple, try ground beef. If you're sick of ground beef and steak, simple, try some seafood. In fact, whenever I want a little change in variation or something fresh, my first pick is going to be raw seafood. So there's another variation. You can enjoy seafood cooked, seafood raw, seafood hot, room temp or cold. I do want to emphasize just how much relief I personally got when I ate cooked meats piping hot versus when I ate cooked meats at room temperature. This actually made a really big difference to how my digestion felt and how much nausea I was hit with. So if you guys are curious to experiment for yourselves and you're prone to getting this palate fatigue, nausea, or meat aversion in general, try cooking your meats that you usually like to eat and just let it sit on the countertop for an hour, maybe 2 hours. Let it come to room temperature and almost harden a bit, because that ooey gooey melted fat, when it's piping hot, eventually hardens into a very solid cold fat. And eating it in that form has helped me tremendously to not run to the toilet with diarrhea or feel triggered with a whole wave of nausea. In fact, nowadays I actually prefer eating my ground beef meals cold or the next day. It's just so delicious. The texture, the flavor just deepens and becomes more rich. It's so delicious. Only certain carnivores will agree with me, and I'd love to know if you also intentionally eat cooked meats cold or at room temp. This to me really does provide a lot of excitement. And if that's not enough excitement for you personally, I get it. Especially if you're coming from a standard American diet where everything is like fireworks and firecrackers in your mouth. I highly recommend checking out my Bella's Cafe playlist, where I make the most creative, flavorful, and delicious recipes. I have at least 20 to 30 recipes saved up in that playlist, so you guys can have fun trying all of these different flavors, textures, and dishes. Moving on to painful lesson number 6, the keto flu. The simple solution is to just rely on salting your meals heavier. I highly recommend investing in a high quality salt. So if that means getting a bulk version bag of Redmond's Real Salt, which is the most popular brand of salt in the carnivore community, or going to your local Whole Foods and getting a high quality Himalayan salt. Salting your meats heavier is definitely the first thing that you can play with to help with these symptoms. If you've already tried salting your meats heavier and you still feel a bit lower in energy, it could just be an electrolyte imbalance. Our bodies need not just sodium, but also potassium and magnesium. So leaning on a high quality, complete electrolyte supplement like this one from Element can be extremely helpful for new carnivores, specifically this raw unflavored box because it has no added stevia, flavorings, or anything to trigger sugar cravings. It's literally just sodium, potassium, magnesium in each packet measured out for you. Here's what each of these packets look like. They're really small. You can just throw a bunch in your work bag, gym bag, and take it when you feel the need. You just rip one open, pour it in whatever you're drinking, mix it up, drink it down, and you're good to go. You all can get a free sample pack like this, and it does include one of the raw unflavored ones with any purchase. If you go to the URL shown on the screen, drinkelementi.com/SBGAL. I've also linked them down below. I do also want to share a different point of view when combating the oh so common carnivore flu. Carnivore flu to me is also a necessary phase to go through, especially if you have a lot to heal. Sometimes embracing feeling a little bit more tired, fatigued, and using that as an opportunity to rest, nap, and just sleep more if you can afford it is absolutely the best way to go about it. Don't feel bad that you don't have nearly as much energy as when you started. In my personal experience, when I first went carnivore, I would say my first 3-4 months, I slept like a baby. I napped so much. Whenever I had the time to, I would lay on the couch, I would nap, I would chill. I did not do any exercise. I did not go to the gym. I instead saw those first 6 months as almost a retreat for my body to finally rest, repair, and re-nourish. Because I embraced this phase and really focused on eating as much as my body desired, even though I gained 25 pounds, it was why I healed so quickly, brought back my period in just 2 short months, and saw incredible results in my skin issues. Now, moving on to solution to painful lesson number 7, which is the oxalate dumping. I'm happy to say that no matter how bad it feels in the moment, managing oxalate symptoms is absolutely possible and quite simple. You have 2 options in my book. You can either approach it in a more gradual, long-term way where you slowly wean off the oxalate heavy foods and you slowly ease into a full carnivore diet lifestyle. By doing this, you will be lessening the harsh symptoms that typically tend to happen for people who jump straight into a carnivore diet with zero transition. Route number 2 is to use specific ingredients as crutches to get you through the initial oxalate dumping. So these crutches would actually be foods with oxalates in them. So a lot of carnivores who do rely on these crutches use lemon juice, so you can use it as like a dipping sauce for all of your meat meals. And it's got that acid to help cut through those flavors, so it could actually be quite a nice flavor to add to your carnivore meals. But because lemon juice has some oxalates, it helps lessen those harsh symptoms. I've also seen people use coffee, black pepper, even chocolate, although I would be more hesitant to use chocolate because that could be a slippery slope, and we don't want you to innocently use chocolate as a crutch and then go full on chocolate diet. So be careful with what crutch that you choose to use. I personally do recommend doing that slow transition as the best approach to overcome oxalate dumping. Number 8 is diarrhea, constipation, or just changes in bowel movements. I'll just give you my best tips for both sides of these stool changes. If you're having diarrhea, you might be eating too much fat for your body to handle at that moment. You may be carnivore for maybe a couple more months down the line, and you will be able to perfectly digest a lot more fat. So wherever you are currently in your carnivore journey, it could just be a sign that you're eating a bit too much fat for your body to digest properly. So temporarily lay off the fat and enjoy your fats only in the form of being raw, cold, or at room temperature solid. When I swapped all of my melted, cooked, rendered fats for cold butter, that's when my explosive diarrhea and sprinting to the toilets stopped. So it really does make a difference. With constipation, simple. Just eat more salt and or even more fat. That usually does get the digestion going very quickly. Number 9, the craving monster. Let's talk about how to resolve and fight this craving monster. My first strategy to recommend is to eliminate cravings by removing temptations. This sounds so obvious, but you would be surprised by how many people who decide to make the commitment to go carnivore, yet still have all of these tempting foods in their house. I do not recommend leaving your favorite chocolate bars, your favorite tubs of ice cream still in your house, because on that one stressful day where you forgot to meal prep, or you were starving, stressed, grouchy, and wanting a quick relief or a quick dopamine hit, I promise you, you're going to want to reach for those foods. Clear the house. Do yourself a favor, either throw away all the junk, give it away to your neighbors, or just eat it all first before you give carnivore a solid go. Also, much like the solution to painful lesson number 4, reminding yourself of your strong why. More painful the why, the better, okay? The more you cry with your whys, the better. This will really strengthen your resolve against cravings, especially when you are actually physically writing it down every single day. Now, my other tactic, if you haven't heard it a million times already before, is to find a designated fatty food. And I emphasize fatty. I took it the furthest by eating straight animal fat, 100% animal fat, sticks of butter, whenever I had that evil sugar craving voice pop up in my head. And it literally worked like a charm. It never failed me. Anytime that craving would pop up, anytime I would have that little desire for, oh, I wonder if, dried mango would be nice, which was my favorite dessert as a vegan, I would go to the fridge, take my stick of butter out of the fridge, take a bite, and literally watch magic happen. That voice dissipates when you eat straight up fat. I get that people can't stand straight up fat, like it literally makes them want to throw up and gag. Boiled eggs topped with a sliver of butter. There you go. Just have something that's already cooked and ready to eat, because the time that it's going to take you to have that voice and cook it up is too much time. You are too vulnerable to hold out for that amount of time. You need something that's already cooked, literally walk to the fridge, eat, to fight that craving monster. So stay prepared. All right, that's all of the lessons and solutions that I have to offer today. Thank you so much for sticking around to the very end of this video. I really hope these insights and solutions that I've learned along these 6 years of carnivore living helps you guys navigate your journey. Remember that every challenge is literally just a stepping stone on the path to better health. Don't see any of these hurdles or maybe any of your slip-ups as a sign that you're failing, you're not good enough, or that you have to start all over. The fact that you are aware of this lifestyle and diet is already such a huge life hack. So kudos to you. I'm so happy you're here. If you have any questions or concerns about this lifestyle that maybe I didn't cover, feel free to comment them down below and I will be happy to help or make future videos with. Before I wrap up, I did want to just give a shout out to something that I've been incorporating in my daily carnivore routine that has really made a big difference on my sleep quality and the energy that I get when I wake up. And that is wearing blue blockers. Blue blockers are basically blue light blocking glasses that you wear whenever you're in front of blue light. Blue light is actually in every single device that we use nowadays. So this includes iPhone, iPad, TV, computers, even your Kindle has blue light. So make sure that you protect your eyes and you protect your sleep. I personally like to wear my blue light blocking glasses, and I have the red ones from Bon Charge the moment it starts getting dark outside. This helps protect my eyes from feeling strained and dry from a long day of work in front of screens, and it actually helps my body produce more melatonin and wind down naturally so that I can fall asleep and stay asleep. I also do love their biohacking tools, like their infrared light sauna blanket. It wraps 360 degrees around you, and if you work out a lot or you want to relax your muscles after working out, this is such a great way to reap the benefits of infrared light therapy while just relaxing. So it's a win-win for me. If you guys want to check out any of Bon Charge's biohacking products and their blue light blocking glasses, you all can use my discount code SPGAL for 15% off your order, or by checking out the links down below. Until next time, friends, stay strong and carnivore on. SPG out.